Hello, everybody. So I can't see anyone yet, and we are going to talk about how to find inner peace. Obviously, we're not going to get the full story today because the whole process of finding inner peace is quite a long one, but I do want to talk about what really that inner peace is and kind of some steps you can take today or things you can do today to achieve that. Um, I wanna wait for more people to be here because 'cause I'm so used to doing Instagram Live where, like, a bunch of people show up, but I will just keep talking, and if you have any questions or if you're like, "Oh, yeah, what were you saying before?" I can go back to those topics because I do want to interact with you since it's not a pre-recorded video. But inner peace is a really interesting I think a lot of people talk a lot about inner peace, like, "I just wanna be at peace, I just want my life to, feel peaceful," and they don't really understand what that means. So I really wanna break it down today, and I actually might even take out a marker so I can describe what actually inner peace is. And before I go any deeper, I'm so awkward on YouTube since I never make YouTube videos, but for those of you that don't know me, you're just stumbling upon this video, my name's Nicole. I'm a life coach. I became pretty well known for astrology, tarot cards of truth. I'm an amazing astrologer and all of that, but I'm focusing a lot more of my energy on coaching and the coaching of spiritual transformation and liberation, as well as regular life coaching. But I just seem to know how to get people in contact with their most powerful inner truth and God or Kundalini rising, whatever you call it. Like I do help people go through a very deep spiritual transformation, which is incredible. So if you want to work with me, go way deeper on this topic and many other topics surrounding spiritual transformation, growth, being in union with God, or having your Kundalini rise, whatever you want to call it. I'm your coach, hi at NicoleBrenny.com. So, yeah, let's actually take out some scratch paper. Sorry, my cat is really annoying sometimes, but I do love him. Here's a little journal, and I really want to make you a little infographic. Is this considered an infographic? You'll tell me, okay? So, a lot of people think that inner peace is like this really calm, sort of boring part of the spectrum, but really it's the ultimate achievement, and inner peace is not really a boring feeling. When I've experienced inner peace, it's really like the most kind of extreme feeling I've ever felt. So here we have sadness on this spectrum. We've got sadness way over here on the side, and we actually have happiness, or you could say joy, but I'm gonna use the word happiness, all the way on the other side of this guy. And I didn't really make this correct, but we have peace, and inner peace actually is right in the center of that. So peace isn't like, oh, look, you guys can see I have I have a bunch of stuff in here. Paint swatches. People think peace would be somewhere up here in this range, but peace is actually exactly in the middle. Too bad I didn't make this perfectly equidistant. But it's right exactly in the middle. And actually, where you find peace, you find bliss. So bliss is right there in the center. Bliss is not something that's way more extreme over here beyond happiness. Peace is actually with bliss right in the center. And when you have peace and bliss, you actually have a lot of other qualities. You have equanimity, you have non judgment, you actually have neither the past nor the future. So you're in a complete state of presence. And that could be considered non duality. So you have, yeah, I think, what else am I forgetting? Any of my coaching clients can tell me what else I'm forgetting. But yeah, so where you have peace, you actually have bliss, you have perfect presence, non judgment, and equanimity. You also have full empowerment. And where you have full empowerment, you actually also have vitality, a ton of vitality. And where you have vitality, you actually have yoga, or union. So where you have peace and all these things, you have, look at this. This is insane. Okay. So a lot of life coaches, a lot of sorry, I'm speaking in tongues. A lot of life coaches, a lot of people on the internet, they are going to try to get you over here to this happiness piece, okay? A lot of astrologers, a lot of people working in this field, they're like, let's get you to happiness, let's get you to live your best life and this extreme excitement, happiness, blah blah blah. Yeah, we'll put excitement over here. We'll put success, actually, we don't want to put success. We'll put success in quotation marks. Also, feel free, please interact, type your comments, join me, like, let's do this together. I don't want to be talking to myself. I do that all day long, so it's fine. Um, so yeah, you have all these things here, and most life coaches, most spiritual leaders or whatever well, I don't want to say most spiritual leaders, but a lot of people are obsessed with this. They're like, get out of sadness, get over here, bypassing all of this complete completeness. And I also want to point out with this like little it's not an infographic, but I'm going to keep calling it an infographic. When you're in sadness, you're in a state of control, or not sadness, but being in a state of control causes sadness. Being in a state of control also can bring happiness, control and control. And you can feel a false sense of power while you're in those two states. But the center point of peace is a state of complete surrender. Okay. So that's why I'm also bringing up the fact that a lot of life coaches, I mean, the whole foundation, the whole basis of astrology and tarot and all of that is like, let's get you to know your future so you can control things and blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, no one's saying it to that extreme degree, but why the hell do you even want to predict the future? So you can prevent something, so you can control something. So when we're in this on this side of the spectrum or we're on this side of the spectrum, we're really in that state of control, a false sense of power, a false sense of empowerment. But when we're in this center stage here and when we're in surrender, there we have all this amazing stuff. And this is where the true power comes into play, which is absolute power, absolute union with God. This is where you're living the will of God, or you could say, I'm going to put in here living will of God, living the will of God. Or you could say you are having actions that don't result in karma. So karma free. You could let's just put karma free. So in the Christian, why am I pronouncing it weird? In the Christian perspective, it would be like living the will of God. And I like how that sounds. I like how that feels. But I align with both. I align with both Christian stuff and Hindu stuff. If language didn't exist, it would be the same thing. So then from the Hindu perspective, it's more like your actions that you take in that center point are karma free. So how do you how do you get to this inner peace? How do you get to this point of equanimity within? And I write equanimity? Yeah, that was the first thing I wrote. Hello, Pat. Uh, so obviously people pay me money to coach with me, to have me guide them through a process to achieve this inner state of peace. Achieve is a strong word because inner peace is actually our natural state. So basically, I work with clients to get them back to their natural human state. I've gotten myself back to that state. I get clients back to that state. It's something you have to continuously renew and come back to, obviously, because our world is very difficult. So there's a lot of tools, tips and tricks. Tips and tricks makes it sound cheap. There's a lot of very, very valuable tools that I teach and offer my clients so that they can not only get to that state, but support that state and continue to refine their souls, their spirits, their being through the continual process of being in the state of peace, coming out of it, being in the state of peace, and refining so that eventually, as powerful human beings in the world, they can reside in a state of peace and bliss their whole lives, right? That's the yoga. That's the original yoga. That is the original union with God. We're all meant to be like that. So when people think of like enlightenment or spiritual evolution as this like huge achievement, like the cherry on top, la crème de la crème, like the biggest thing that one can do. I used to think that too, like, even when I had a union with God experience, I kind of got a little ego boost of like, "Wow, look at this achievement that I did. Wow, look at me." I didn't act like that, but I had a little sense of that within myself, and the more that I've helped others to achieve, I don't wanna use that word, to do the same, the more I realized, "Hang on a second, this isn't anything to be so excited about. This is, well, obviously you're gonna be excited, it's amazing, but this is literally just our natural state, and not being in this state is actually just a very sad thing because we are meant to always be in a state of peace and bliss. I mean, it's written all over the Bible, like, we shouldn't live in fear, we shouldn't live in anxiety, we shouldn't live and worry about the future, we should be living trusting in God, surrendering to God, like, the psalm where it goes, like, "The Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want." This is the truth, So, um, this should be our baseline of how we live our lives. It's not some great achievement. So I think people are kind of perturbed or put off by this idea of spiritual enlightenment, spiritual evolution, union with God. But this is our natural state. It's just that our conditioning and our programming has taken us out of it. So, a great way to think about this is imagine that you are, and I have a prop here, you are an apple. This is a candle that's an apple, and there's a weird fiber on it. Okay, you're an apple, right? And your original state is to be an apple that's growing on a tree. So you're like this ever growing apple. You always are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? Always getting more sweet or sweeter, riper, all that this kind of stuff. So you are on this tree and getting all this nutrition from this tree that's rooted in the ground and getting all the beautiful rainwater and everything so that you can soak that all up. Oh, he loves it. That's your natural state, connected to the source. The state that you're likely in if you're watching this video, unless you're one of my coaching clients or I've luckily connected with you and you're still on this tree, is you've been plucked from this tree and you're just an apple that's basically in a bowl on the countertop, rotting away. Okay. And an apple can stay fresh on the countertop for quite some time, but eventually it starts to decay, bugs start to eat at it, it starts to rot, it gets all nasty, sometimes moldy. It needs to be thrown away at some point. So, the purpose of my coaching, the purpose of getting you to that state is to get you back onto that tree, to get you back onto that tree where you can always be receiving that nourishment, right? So it's like I like to use this charger here with my clients and be like, you're plugged back into the source. And there will be moments where maybe you're off of the source, hopefully not. There's no excuse not to be plugged in, but you have the tools to know how to get back plugged in, right? So there's actually this really crazy and wild idea in the Siddha yoga tradition, like the real Siddha yogis. And if you want to look up what Siddha is, it's Siddha. It's a wild idea, so I'm not making any claims or anything. This is my disclaimer. But there's this idea that when one is truly connected to the source all the time, that one becomes immortal. So there is a yoga of immortals, which is called Siddha yoga. And, like, theoretically, it does make sense. When you are in this state of bliss and you're in the state of equanimity, what one of the words that I wrote down in this infographic is vitality. And you do feel this extreme sense of vitality. You feel so energized, you feel, so healthy, and it's wild because when you are removed from that state, you immediately feel your system kind of getting drained and getting tired. And oh, I one thing I should write in here too. Oh my gosh, most one of the most important things. Um, we had that word control, and now I'm gonna put. I know I'm just writing this and not telling you, but when you're in the sadness or anything in this range of sadness, you're thinking. You've got thoughts. There's a lot of mental activity. When you're anything in this range between peace and happiness or beyond peace and happiness, you are in a thinking state. And the bliss state is thoughtless. It's completely thoughtless. When I'm in that state, which disclaimer again, I'm not in that state right now. I went through an acute trauma recently, a very acute trauma. If you want to kind of know a little bit about what I went through, you can go to my Instagram at Nicole_Brenny. Kind of, it was a very, 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 very difficult period that I am coming out of, which really attacked, slammed me down. So I'm building up some ohas or inner chi to get back to my bliss. And I've had moments here and there, but yeah, so I'm not in that state. But when I am in that state, it's a thoughtless state. And you basically, like, I don't even know what word is going to come out of my mouth next. In mid sentence, I might not even know what's coming out of my mouth next. That's how thoughtless it is. And I should also put, I mean, you guys, this is amazing, you know? Look at this inner peace. Like, inner peace is, most people that are experiencing inner peace, they're somewhere in this extreme area. They're not in the equanimity point. Because also in that peace place, you're in the flow. So, get off of these programs that are offering you happiness, success, because if they're offering you success, they've already have this construction of what success is, and they're not trusting your personal path, which can lead you further and further and further astray. But yeah, so in that point of equanimity, you're in a thoughtless state. There's no thinking involved. And you would think that, "Oh, if I'm in a thoughtless state, how can I get anything done? How can I pay my bills? How can I do blah, 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 A, B, and C, my laundry, wash my car, make big purchases?" I lived in a state of bliss for 7 months. The reason I'm out of it now is because I had a very acute trauma, which is part of, I think I'll explain that later, like how does one leave the state of bliss and come back to it, but that's advanced, not for this video. But I lived in a state of bliss in a thoughtless state for 7 months, and I never paid a bill late. House was for the most part clean. I dated people, I made a big purchase. I got reelected for city council, had city council duties, showed up for every meeting on time, signed important documents, all in a thoughtless state. I met with clients several times a week, um, cooked meals, made art, all in a thoughtless state. So people think that to be in a thoughtless state, to be in the flow, to be in a state of equanimity and peace and bliss, oh, that's so irresponsible. Like you're just like this drug addict, um, high on your own supply. But honestly, in that state, I've never been more responsible, more on time, more on point, more fully present for my clients, making such big strides, getting clients into a state of union with God. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about what inner peace and bliss can bring because unfortunately we have to frame all this knowledge with the fact that we live in a day and age in a yuga where most people do not live in a state of equanimity, peace, and bliss. And when you're in that state, it does feel like you're literally high on a crazy drug like ecstasy or heroin or something. I don't do drugs, so I don't know how those would feel, but it really feels like some crazy, crazy, crazy drug. And you feel like, I can't explain it unless you've already experienced it, but you literally feel all the love of God. You feel so self contained. You feel like no matter what happens in your life, you're just going to be so at peace and so happy. Like it's beyond happiness. You're just like, oh my gosh, I feel so loved right now. I feel so supported by the universe. And let's add another words in this state of equanimity or bliss or peace. You have trust and you also have faith. You have all these virtues naturally and spontaneously cultivating in this point of presence. So, like, why would we ever even like, doesn't this make it seem like obviously no one wants to be in sadness? Like, that's just ça va sans dire. That goes without saying. But doesn't looking at this list in this middle and take a look at it. We have equanimity, we have non-judgment, we have presence, we have full empowerment. Like you become the most powerful being you can be. You have trust, faith, thoughtlessness. Like imagine how just all those spinning wheels of thoughts disappear. We have flow, peace, vitality, yoga, union with God. I can't read. Karma-free living. Does it Why would you choose this? Control, fake success, fake power. Let's put power. Let's put the fake power in there. Why would you ever choose this over this? And that is the nature of my coaching. Like, I get people to that center point. Most coaches, probably 95% of coaches, being generous, probably 98% of coaches will try to take you to that happiness extreme. I'm trying to get you into that juicy, juicy center where you're literally in a state of ecstasy in divine union with the God within. So I'm not trying to make this a huge advertising of my coaching, but I want you to understand what inner peace is. Like when people are like, I just want peace in my life, which was me. That was me 5 years ago. I'm like, I just want peace in my life. Um, Even when I said that in my head, it was like this boring idea of what inner peace was. Like, I literally was just like, "I'm gonna be quiet on my couch reading a book." Holy shit, did I never guess that inner peace would feel like I'm literally sucked into an IV of, like, ecstasy, heroin all day long, and, like, literally just nothing feels like any effort, like, everything feels effortless, like, let's even write that down. Effortless, ease. And all in this area around this bubble, not in the bubble, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's trepidation, there's shame, there's guilt, all those things, whether you're in this extreme or that extreme, in this bubble of bliss, which I don't even want to call it a bubble because that makes it seem delusional or something. This is delusion. On either side is delusion, but not within. Delusion, delusion. And then in the center, it's reality, truth. So we have delusion, delusion, reality. Trust me, being a human being that has lived in a state of bliss, union with God for 7 months straight with a few moments popping out of it, and now because of the physical state of my body, because I was so physically impacted by this trauma, um, being out of it and being able to witness that, like, these extremes again, having that perspective, I don't wanna be anywhere else, like, for the rest of my life, I will give up anything I own, anything I've ever, and I do consistently give up things to remain in that state of peace and bliss because there's nothing else that I want in life. And I think the reason why people don't, like, go for that they kind of go for these, programs, or they wanna get readings, or they go for the career, or they go for the dreams and everything that bring them here, because they're in this state of sadness and then they wanna go right here, is because they don't even believe this can exist, and they don't even know what this is, and there's no examples of people living that way. There are no examples of people living that way, and they think to live like that would be irresponsible. So now I'm gonna share something very private, but I think that this really helps to illustrate how not irresponsible it is to live that way. I was in that flow state for 7 months, and I worked, like, the bare minimum that a human being can work. I worked, like, 9 hours a week. Imagine working 9 hours a week and every bill was paid, everything was done, every T was crossed and I dotted, right? And that's me trusting in the flow of life. Oh, the train's going by, I wish you could see it. That's me trusting in the flow of life, trusting in things, never sacrificing my authenticity and integrity. Those are 2 other words we should add to this little bubble. I can't even fit any more words in this bubble, but this bubble has in it authenticity and integrity. So, look at this. And it all has all the virtues, all the morals, everything in here. I'm just gonna take a moment to read this comment. It says from Alexandre. Hi, Nicole. Times when I experienced grace or bliss, as you call it, I had also phases of great stress, like in the day after. Do you think they are connected? You might just be, like it's contrast. If you put something dark against something white, um, the dark thing looks darker than if you put that up against something that is already dark. So I think sometimes when you fall from grace or you come out of a state of grace or bliss, we should also add the word grace to this bubble. The coming back to the normal human way of living feels kind of harsh and feels kind of hard. Hello, cookie. I just ate a cookie. I made these really good homemade gluten-free cookies. Okay, so that's just the point I wanna get across. Inner peace is not some boring, like, "Do, do, 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 do." I'm just this old person drinking my coffee and reading my I was gonna start reading this book. I'm just reading this book and drinking my coffee by the seaside and gardening, and that's just my peace, that's inner peace. Inner peace is like literally being plugged in to heroin all day long. Like, it is so I don't wanna even use that extreme word. I also don't wanna trigger people, so I'm sorry I'm using that extreme word. But it's like, you are so fulfilled. You are so fulfilled. You are so loved. You feel no lack of love or support. You feel so it is like you are being held in God's hands and nurtured, and God's like, "You're okay. You're okay. Everything's fine." And you're just alive, and you never felt more alive. You never felt happier. So if you have believed that you've achieved inner peace because, life is quiet and everything, and you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Well, there's more. There's more. And I know it might seem impossible or hard to believe. And honestly, I would have never thought it would have existed unless I would have experienced myself and I would have been able to bring others into the same experience. Like experiencing it myself was one thing. But as soon as I was able to carefully, step by step, bring others into the same experience, and I realized I'm not special. And that was a good feeling. I was like, other people can achieve the same thing. And I was like, this is just the natural state of human being. And it made me just realize how important it is that we all get to feel that. No one should not feel that amazing feeling. No one should be exempt from feeling connected back to the source. This is our natural state. We live in a very corrupt society. We live in a very corrupt time where we've been plucked out. There's so much programming around fear, blame, shame, anxiety that pulls us off, that plucks us from the source, throws us into these nasty fruit bowls where we rot away, get tons of diseases, feel like shit, hate ourselves. Imagine that you're plugged right back in. And yes, so you're and I think Alexandra brings up a good point, and even my current state where I experienced a trauma or whatever, and I've been plucked off again. Um, but when we get plugged back in, there is healing to do. There are parts of us that have decayed. There are parts of us that have become moldy, that have become crusty and hard. There are all these inner parts of us that kind of became scarred over and everything that need to open up again because we've been disconnected for so long. So there is a healing process or there's a refinement process that happens when you do get plugged back in, which isn't easy. But the most important thing and the first step I think that you all are taking today that are listening and watching this video is to at least acknowledge that either you've experienced this bliss, right? So there's a group of you that have experienced this bliss, and just to have this knowledge that this is your natural state, this is where you're meant to always live. And then for those of you that are like, Nicole sounds like a crazy person, and this does not seem real, and this isn't for me. Your first step in achieving inner bliss is to acknowledge that, yes, this is real. I have methodically brought others into this experience that had very little or no prior meditation or spiritual experience, and that it is your birthright and it is your I don't know, your privilege as a human being to always live in this state as well. And just by at least acknowledging that it can happen and acknowledging that you're worthy of it is your first step. Now, if you want to go deeper with all of this, then obviously right now the best thing for you to do is the life coaching with me, which is to work with me for 3 to 6 months, especially if you're starting from scratch. So you can email me hi@nicolebrenny.com. This is the most potent and powerful way to work with me right now. I have one-off sessions as well. They're called brain synthesis. So if you go to my website, nicolebrenny.com, and you check out the brain synthesis sessions, these can help to remove like one piece of your mental conditioning or work through one issue that might be blocking you. Obviously, coaching is going to work on everything carefully until all of your conditioning is removed to get you back to your natural state. But these brain synthesis sessions can give you a good boost, especially if you're not ready to make a financial investment to work with a coach one on one. If you aren't ready to work with a coach or you have great insurance that's helping you to, where you can get therapy for free, a lot of the times the first step to finding inner peace and fulfillment is to work through some past traumas through therapy and everything before you work with a coach. I am very skilled at taking you into that deeper spiritual dimension of it all. So that's kind of where I come into play. If you are not ready yet, or if you're like, yeah, I don't have the finances or whatever to work with a coach one on one. I also have this digital newspaper called Eagle's Call. I'm thinking of different offerings that I can offer around these topics. I'm working on those daily right now. So in the near future, probably before summertime, I will have different offerings as well. I really encourage you though to work with me one on one because that's the most powerful experience you can have. And it has been proven to get people to that deep spiritual bliss, which is inner peace. I mean, that's simply what it is. So, yeah, and it's flexible because we can work together 3 or 6 months, but please sign up for my digital newspaper. It's getting a bit harder to reach people through social media, um, to, like, let them know about my offerings, so being connected in that way is really fun, and my digital newspaper is really cool because it's very creative, and I've been making so much art lately, so I'll share all of that too. Following your bliss can help find inner peace. Yes, but inner peace is bliss, so that's kind of the misunderstanding there. Does anybody have any questions? So there are definitely more steps to the process. I'll let you guys type your questions, but there's definitely more steps to the process of achieving inner peace, which is also bliss. But that's your first step today is to recognize, okay, I've experienced bliss. Maybe you're in group 1, I've experienced bliss. My reminder to you today is you can always live in that bliss. You might need some tools, you might need some guidance. That's where I can come in and help you. And I'm trying to develop more and more and more resources around this, but I'm just one person and I need some time. But coaching one on one is where I can help you the most right now. Or you're in group 2 where you're like, Nicole's crazy. What is this inner peace? What is this bliss? This doesn't make any sense. You need to recognize and come to terms with the fact that it is real and it is for you. It is our natural human state. So give yourself the grace to recognize that you can also live in peaceful contentment. And peaceful contentment isn't, oh, I'm a 70-year-old man reading my book and drinking my coffee. Now I'm finally at peace. That's boring shit. Inner peace is like being hooked up to an IV of intense, powerful, amazing love drug. So if you're not feeling that amazing bliss, you haven't found your peace yet. And that's where I come in because I can help you carefully, methodically, provenly to get to that state. So again, I'll put my email here and we'll talk on Zoom. That's why you email me because we'll set up a Zoom call where we can actually look at where you're at, see if it's better to work together for 3 or 6 months. And yeah, sign up for my newspaper in the meantime, my digital newspaper, it's free. That's where I will tell you about any new offerings that I have. And if you're interested in me hosting some kind of a group or some kind of a course or whatever, like when I started my Cards of Truth study group, it's because I had people asking me to do it. So if you are like, this is how you can serve us, this is how you could benefit us, or this is how you could benefit me, send me those emails because if I get asked to create something, I will create it. And I had a lot of success creating that cards course when I did it. So I'm more than happy to create something that could benefit multiple people. So write your suggestions, email me at any time if you're like, it would really help if you did a podcast or whatever. Because right now I'm like, I have some time to create something new. Definitely interested in a course. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about what that could look like. So if there's what in particular would you want to learn? I meditate almost every day. Spiritual practices are amazing. Yes, they are. And I also was thinking of kind of showing you all in like a little mini course how to meditate appropriately that will bring you to this state of inner peace the most quickly, the quickest. What's the word for that? Okay. So let's just recap while you ask any last questions you have or any suggestions. And of course, like there's always an open line of communication. So email me. I'm very slow to respond to emails, unfortunately, but I'm coming to terms with that. So to recap everything we went over in this little mini course, in this little masterclass on inner peace, we've got a spectrum of emotions ranging from sadness to happiness. And most people would think that inner peace is like some boring thing up in here somewhere. I go to, but inner peace is actually the exact center point. Okay. Most life coaches and everything are going to try to get you up in here somewhere where they believe peace is, or up in here with this extreme happiness, excitement, fake success, fake power. Most programs and things you're going to sign up for are going to try to get you here. But true inner peace is actually quite extreme. It feels like extreme inner ecstasy, inner bliss, and it comes with so many perks. And this is a true spiritual path. This is a path of integrity, authenticity, faith, trust, surrender, non judgment, non duality, perfect presence. All these things come spontaneously at once, including vitality, physical vitality, and health. So, work with me brings you to that center point. And it brings you to that center point because I am an embodiment of that center point. Knowing how to get there, knowing what to do when you're out of it, knowing how to bring yourself back. Literally, the only reason I'm not back in that state right now is because my body has been weakened. So I'm supporting my body right now, eating a ton of foods, resting very well. There are very many practical components to this path as well. So that's where a coach can really help you to get to that state. It is I should also write courage. I mean, this center point is so important. Courage also belongs there. Beautiful. So if you really want inner peace and you don't have all these things, you're not in inner peace yet. You're somewhere in an extreme. Right? Okay, so now before I close out, I wanted to enter into a deeper state of meditative absorption. So some of you know that when I was doing lives on Instagram or before on YouTube, I deleted a lot of videos, but I was doing these absorption videos. You can continue watching. If you don't want to go into a deeper meditation, yeah, you can stop the video here. But for those of you that are like my ride or dies and you love this kind of shit, we're gonna go into a deeper state of meditative absorption, right? So I'm not in a completely blissful state. So what that means is that my body will likely have, and I don't know, I have to write down some more words on here. Spontaneity is another thing that happens in the state of bliss. Okay. So I might have a lot of mudras. I might have vocalizations and singing mantras, speaking in tongues that happen to help me to get my body centered and everything. Um, Kriyas, which are spontaneous movements of the body that help my body to get my energy tighter and back again. So in this meditative absorption that we're going to go through, it might be a lot of me balancing everything, but it could also help to balance you. So yeah, don't be surprised if I start speaking in tongues or singing or whatever. I'm not being possessed or anything. This is my body, which has been weakened by a trauma, balancing itself back out. So this is part of it because true inner peace and true bliss are embodied. Oh my gosh, you guys, we're coming up with so many words. I am, at least, because no one's helping me. But you're in your body fully in this center, and you're out of body when you're in these extremes. This right here is gold. Trust me. That took me 34 years to know all that, and I'm giving that to you for free today because I think one reason that people don't embark on this path is because they literally have no clue. So I'm giving you some really, really deep esoteric secrets today because I want to invite you to do this kind of work. I want to invite you to do this kind of work with me one-on-one, especially if you have the resources. Like, I wouldn't even hesitate to email me, because it changes your life. It makes all of life so much easier to deal with. And for those of you that aren't in that financial position to hire a coach, which it's not even that expensive. Like, I've worked with coaches that charge like 10 times as much. So it's really not that crazy. But if you're not at that point yet, like, to gift you something to start with, right? To gift you something because it's really important to me. Like, I don't think anybody should ever live in a disempowered state. I don't think anybody should live plucked off of the nourishment of the source anymore. Like, we can't live like this anymore. It causes so much pain, suffering. It's not worth it. So, let's go into a deeper state of meditative absorption together. And yeah, if you just wanted the information, you're working more on the mental level, end the video here. If you want to sort of have the transmission to maybe light something within you, it's like me being a candle and you having your wick. And if your wick is ready, you'll light up as well. So, um, the spontaneous things that could happen, I said before, mudras, me speaking in tongues, singing, my breath will change. I could just be in stillness. So expect the unexpected during these next moments of meditative absorption. And I don't know how long I'll go. So sorry if I'm like, I have my AirPods, so I don't know if you can hear me like swallowing a lot. It's a really annoying thing, but that's also part of it. I'm sorry. Oh, and like this video before we start meditating, like this video, and feel free to share it with any of your spiritually oriented friends or anybody that could really use some deeper understanding of peace. I might cry too. I've been through a lot, so don't take it personally. 에 예. 오드라에 이드라에 뭐를 어떡하지? 그렇죠. 아이고 그렇죠, 그렇죠. 아이고 그렇죠, 그렇죠. 아이고 그렇죠. 버리죠. 아이고 그래요. 그렇죠. 아이고 그죠. 뭐지요, 뭐죠. 아유 어떡해요. 어떡하지요. 이야, 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 이야. Tiro 어떡하죠, 어떡하죠. 뭐지요. 이야 따뜻하 오더라 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 오케이 아디아 오더라가 나이스 이야 이야 mai trocoti moche vorrei altre ciuffre dietro ciuffre misa vorrei vorrei katarcia misa intercatia moti Okay. So I think we'll stop here. So I want to kind of debrief from that. First off, how did you guys feel? That was pretty intense. Mais ook. Nerotev. Mikorotev. It's pretty hard to come back to English. Mais ook. So the tongues can be translated a little bit, like, the longer I've been speaking it, because I guess it's been, like, 6 months, the more I can understand what they mean. So if you go to my art page on Instagram, it's at EagleOcean222. I made a lot of art in the last 10 days or something, and, I wrote down, like, the phonetic tongues. Oh, so I created the piece of art, and then I spoke tongues to it, kind of. I don't know how to explain it, like, I made, like, a poem. I spoke tongues to it, I don't know how to explain it, like, I looked at it and then had something to say about it, and then I translated it into English as best as I could, so you can see their kind of the translation, but it's like a phonetic translation of speaking in tongues and then the English underneath, so it's not gonna be like what the words actually look like or whatever. Because probably say if it was an ancient language, it would be like a script, and I don't write it, I only speak it, so I don't know. But, like, there are some words I know what they mean. Like, for instance, I speak in tongues, like, throughout the day, like, if I drop something or, um, like, any kind of an emotional utterance. For instance, like, if I speak to my cat, it's always in tongues, so his name in tongues is Bresbiak. So I know that Bresbiak is the name of my cat, and I had an ex-boyfriend who, when I spoke in tongues around him, which happened often because I was very relaxed around him, very vulnerable around him, his name was Sama. So that's, like, always he was Sama, and, um, Yam or Yama, that's actually Sanskrit, so that's, like, the heart or the heart center. So, Hey Ya, Hey Yama, that's all, like, hail or, like, it's like you're worshiping the heart center. Anything with na is gonna be, like, a negative. So if I say, like, "Na," it's like a negative utterance. Oof, like the oof. Okay, I don't know. I don't always, like, know it, but, I try not to intellectualize it, but oof, or there's, like, anything with oof has to do with, like, pain and suffering. Odia, that all has to do with, like, God. Odia, like, the God within another. Odia, I don't know exactly what Odia means. Godia is God. Godia, um, yes, it is very emotional. So, yeah, it's just that I've been speaking it so long, and I speak it all day long too. Um, but it kind of evolves and changes too. I think it becomes more refined, but yeah, Godia, that's like God. Um, Maya, I'll say Maya a lot. Maya is illusion, so that's from Sanskrit. Mayam, that's like kind of a version of that, but it's a little different. Samaya is Samaya is like time and the moment, the smallest moment. Satya is truth. I Sukurtuha. Mirakutya. Gotcha. But the thing is that, these words I'm gonna turn on my heat so the sound is gonna be a little bit worse, but the words, they mean like 20 things at once. So they have a lot of meanings at once. It's not just one thing. Like, I'll be saying one thing, but I'll be saying many things. But I will repeatedly say the same phrases around the same scenario, and that's when I know, "Oh, that means this." Like, I'll be scrolling TikTok and laughing at something, and I always say the same thing when I'm laughing at something. Like, there's, like, words that mean that something is funny, but I just don't write them down, I don't intellectualize it, but whenever I see something super, super funny, I will, I'll laugh at it in tongues, like, I'll say something in tongues. So there's like, everything I'm saying, it's not just, like, random association, like, I am speaking a language that has patterns and meaning, and I'm speaking it spontaneously, and the same words will come up around the same scenarios. Like, I always subconsciously, spontaneously call my cat Lesbiak. I always would call my ex-boyfriend when I was vulnerable and in a safe space with him, I would always call him Sama. Otro, yeah. Um, One time I was really, really, really sad, and I was, like, saying this phrase over and over again, and, like, I literally knew exactly what it meant, even though I never spoke those words before. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing to, like, speak a language, but, like, not learn it and then learn it from speaking it. I think it's pretty cool, but I think it's, like, a language that's stored in our body more than anything. I've been trying to record videos too, like, when I've been, like, in a more sad state, like, just trying to record videos to, like, document, and whenever I'm speaking to myself on video now, like, if I'm making, like, a video journal, I will always speak to myself in tongues, which is weird, but, yeah, I think it's just, the most like, if you think about language as being a program, so English is a program, like, we're taught it it has its own belief system instilled within it and its own limitations. I think that by speaking in tongues, it's like natural it's a natural progression of your spiritual path because it's like a language without any conditioning around it. So it's a self-expression, a vocal expression, a communication without any conditioning, any programming, any other like things on it. It's pure, you know? So yeah, if you guys are wondering when I was doing that meditation, like I was not making any of those things happen. It was spontaneous, kind of like happening in the moment. So I don't know what I was saying or whatever. I just know I feel a lot more at peace, a lot more balanced now that I did that. So I'll probably go into a few more states of yoga throughout the day. Yoga is union, and deep meditative absorption, where you do feel the peace, the timelessness, the bliss, and all of that. So you can reside that in that all the time. So that's what I teach in my coaching. But any questions or comments before I go, please like this video too, and please share it if you're like, oh, I have a friend. Like, even if you just share it with one person, I'm trying to build my channel again and get a new audience. So if you like this video and you have an Instagram or you have a YouTube channel or a Facebook group or whatever, like, I want to reach new people because I think a lot of my audience comes from like astrology. And yeah, I want to reach new people. So if you want to, like, we can build a community together. So yeah, share this video, tag it on Instagram or whatever. That would be awesome. Share it with your newsletter. I want to like get to new people that are ready for this kind of work. So if you're interested in this kind of work, undoubtedly your friends or family or network would be as well. And this is like a really powerful little lesson that I gave to you for free today that took me 34 years of really, really intense inner work to realize. And I wanted to give it to you for free because I think that in order for people to go deeper, they need to even know what there is to gain. And there's so much to gain, right? Like, we can stay in our sadness or we can try to force this like happiness, live your best life thing, but really it's all here. And this is what I'm going to get you to. So email me for coaching, hi@nicolebrenny.com. I'll leave like a couple of minutes here for any more questions and then I'm going to go. Pat Jones, thank you for this. You are a badass. Thank you for watching. I was following you through astrology, but stepped away, then saw you again looking alive, stepping into alignment again, and here you are. That's a fun comment. Thank you. I saw you again looking alive. That's hilarious. I don't even know what that means, but I'll take it. I had nightmares all night. You guys, I went through like a traumatic situation and like I think my subconscious is processing it. So like I had nightmares all night and then I woke up and I'm like, I need more sleep because I had nightmares and then I went back to sleep and I had more nightmares. Okay. So I'm not feeling like my absolute best. I feel my absolute best when I'm in a state of perfect bliss. But this meditation we just did, that's kind of like what brings me back. I found you through astrology, but I'm not sure of your offerings. Can you describe more about you? Like, how did you make your spiritual journey practical? Yeah, so my offerings right now that align with the content of this video. So I still do offer astrology readings, and I'm gonna make more videos about like how I think it fits in, even though I do think like this work is the absolute, this is like the best, you know. But right now I offer one-on-one coaching, which is extremely powerful, life-changing, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing. I'm gonna put more testimonials on my website so you can see just how powerful and crazy and amazing it is. Um, and so it's 3 or 6 month packages, and people will work with me for like a year, but we do it in increments of 3 or 6 months because sometimes it's good to take a little break. And I do have one-off coaching sessions, which are called brain synthesis. So brain synthesis sessions help to work through, like, help to remove one specific conditioning or deal with one specific problem. So we can kind of like deal with one little thing, whereas coaching, we go through everything. We like help you to deal with all of the things going on in your life that are keeping you from a state of inner peace. And how did I make my spiritual journey practical? Well, I've always just been like this really spiritual person. And I really started in the new age. But the cool thing about me being involved in the new age was that I always had this foundation of like inner journeying and meditation and a path of like trying to learn more and more about myself that had nothing to do with anything outside of myself. So since the age of 12, I would spend hours each day going within without a book, without any reference point, just kind of exploring myself. And that journey from age 12 never stopped. I'm 34 now. So even though I did involve myself with yoga, Kundalini yoga, astrology, tarot cards, I always had this stream in my life of just going within pure without any reference point. And that's the path that led me to this, not astrology, not tarot, not any of that. Although astrology and tarot taught me spiritual truths, they taught me about the way that the spiritual laws manifest and how they work in your life, which is of huge value. They also created an external scaffolding that made me feel safe, when I didn't feel safe, which I eventually had to remove. So they gave me support outside of myself, but ultimately we must find support within ourselves. So they gave me a false scaffolding, which we sometimes do need. Um, but that undercurrent, following that and really learning how to live in that current more and more and more, which, throughout my adult life, I've just been cultivating my character and cultivating my spiritual truth more and more and more, making decisions from that place rather than astrology and cards or rather than my programming. And slowly, as I did that, I naturally arrived at this place of inner peace, equanimity, bliss, vitality, empowerment, all of that. So it was very gradually, it was very self guided, a lot of false teachers and gurus on the path, but really always tapping into that one undercurrent and following that true spiritual path will always lead to practical results. It will not make your life some chaotic, go with the flow messiness. Um, I've never paid a bill late my entire life. Like that's just one example of like I'm very, very practical, very responsible. I'm probably the most responsible person I know, but it comes from that undercurrent. Please ask me more specific questions if I didn't answer your question fully. Said thank you, and you made a video about your south node going through the ninth house. Any tips on that with the north node about how to add this into your life? So I don't want to bring astrology into this particular video because this is definitely working on yourself beyond astrology, beyond tarot, and I might still make some astrology content because my understanding of astrology has changed. So save that question for maybe one of those videos because I don't want to get off of the topic. And when you do reach this place of inner equanimity and peace, you don't need astrology anymore. So that's kind of the answer to that question in the realm of this video. What advice would you give your 31-year-old self just 3 years ago? So when I was 31, I was living in Costa Rica and it was during COVID. And I was really struggling to kind of let go of astrology and tarot for myself. And I was dating someone that didn't believe in astrology and tarot. And I had a dream with him in it, where in the dream, he and I stood on top of a hill and the wind was blowing and it was so beautiful and there was golden sunlight. And he looked into my eyes and he said, Nicole, while we're together, I'm going to teach you how to quit using astrology and tarot. And he did. He did actually. I always thought of him as like this enlightened being. And I think I was always correct because was a huge influence on me stepping into my power, releasing the external scaffolding and becoming my most powerful version of myself. That's the kind of a relationship you want, is someone like that, whether they're your coach, your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, whatever. Like you want someone like that. Now I get to be that to others. And when I was 31, I kind of struggled with that, to let go. I was really scared, but honestly, when I was 31, I was really using these principles. Like I had a lot of trust. I quit working for 6 months and I just put all of my energy into making art, not knowing if I was ever going to make money again. I had so much faith in life and I was really like not using astrology and tarot. So there's no advice I would give, honestly, because I think I was really fully living in these spiritual principles then. Maybe just a little like love advice in kind of like encouraging me that I think I was like putting a lot of pressure on that relationship because he didn't want to get married or have kids and that's something that I want. And so and I stayed in the relationship, but I didn't know at the time how beautiful and impactful and healthy that relationship was for me and how much it changed my life. And I just would probably want to encourage myself more to stay in the moment and to just be so grateful and to just appreciate that person and his family more than I think I did. Like I appreciated them a lot in retrospect and I appreciated like I'm like so grateful every single day for them. Ooh, Rakutia. Don't want to cry. But I think because I had my ego attached to outcomes and expectations of what I wanted from that relationship, sometimes I wasn't like fully present in it and was kind of more like upset because it was like, well, this is never going to lead to anything. So like I think I could have given myself some emotional advice to be like, will literally be the most healthy, beautiful relationship of your life. You should just you should just enjoy it and not be such a whiny little bitch. You but I did not have the emotional capacity to understand that then, but it could have been cool to be that for me. But, like, they were teaching me how to be present, they were teaching me how to live in that state of equanimity, and I did learn the lesson, but it did take me, like, like, I kinda learned it in retrospect. But that's the amazing thing about being around people that are more spiritually fulfilled than you, is that just by being around these people, like, it's not like they sat me down and they gave me this lesson and they pointed to things or whatever, you know? Just by them being them, I learned by osmosis to be like that, and, like, what an amazing time in my life, and with COVID, I was, like, forced to be with them, like, I had no choice, I couldn't go make other friends, like, we were just all 4 living together basically on the same property. So, um, yeah, like, maybe just tell myself to chill out a little bit more. You know? Yeah, so, like, I'm obviously that relationship's over, I don't need to go back to it or anything, but just, like, I could have just appreciated it more and been more, like, grateful in the moment. Any other questions? Oh, you said you have a glow about you, thank you. I'm not even using a filter, so that's a really nice compliment. Also, I do notice when I'm in a state of absorption and bliss, I'll get, like, a gold ring around my, pupil. Like, people will comment on it. If I'm dating someone, they'll be like, "Your eyes just turned golden." And so I do think when you're in a state of absorption, you get like a I think it's funny when I speak in tongues, like my face, like I speak it, my face changes. Like I'm not, yeah, yes, yeah. I look different, I think, and like I'm using my hands in a different way, and my face and my breath in a different way. It's pretty cool. I don't know how to ask this other than asking it, but what makes you qualified to coach? Like, why should we choose you? I don't mean any disrespect. No, that's a really good question. My work is in deprogramming, removing the external scaffolding, helping you to undo your mental conditioning. And some coaches think that they, just go get a certification and then that makes them a great coach, right? Like it's this false belief that if I just get a certification or whatever, then I'm all of a sudden a great coach. I have all these qualifications. I have this degree, blah, 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 blah. I started coaching like for pennies, basically. I started coaching for free, people that I dated, basically, which isn't a good dynamic, which is why I stopped that. I'm like, I can't keep coaching my boyfriends. This is not healthy. I should just do it as a profession. That was over 10 years ago. And I learned how to coach through actually doing it. So charging almost nothing, getting results, charging a little bit more, taking different courses, reading different literature, having mentors from other coaches, hiring coaches myself, like very, very amazing coaches that have turned me into a better coach, like investing in myself with coaching, a lot of money into coaching to make me a better coach, having multiple resources like that. And getting results, like actually getting people to be in this blissful union with God's state. So what makes me qualified is like over a decade of experience actually working with people, not just reading books, not just doing certifications, not just having a label, but actually working with people for a decade, getting results, changing their lives, getting crazy testimonials, and blowing my own mind at how I've helped people. Um, and I'm very specific, like, I'm researching all the time. I'm always improving what I do, and I speak from my own personal experience rather than anecdotal. Like, I only teach people how to expand themselves in a way that I've already expanded myself, and I am the embodiment of the work. So, yeah, that's what makes me more than qualified, is not only the results, but the fact that I embody what I teach, and I've been doing this for over a decade. and I invest in myself. So, like, I'm at a precipice now where I'm like, actually want to further my own coaching practice. So I might even bring on another mentor for myself to take me even deeper because coaches really do need that. Maybe you can ask more specific questions, but yeah, it's more like, you could hire a bartender for your bar because they went to bartending school, but, like, the best bartenders are those that, like, started out washing dishes and bussing tables, and then they worked in a bar for 10 years, and they actually made drinks, they actually worked with customers, they actually developed new recipes over a decade, like, that's the difference. Like, anybody can go get a certification, but do they have actual experience? And doing astrology and tarot, so I've done astrology and tarot for even longer than that, so that's been 2 decades, and that's working with clients and achieving a result and helping to counsel and coach them as well. So it's like 2 decades of experience of this shit, and developing my own unique, tried and true, works every single time techniques. Is your business what you use to pay for your lifestyle, fund your life? That's why I asked more about you. Sorry for all these questions. Yes. So I have been funding my life and my lifestyle. I don't have rich parents. I don't have a rich husband. I don't have a rich boyfriend. I don't have a trust fund or grants or anything. I've been fully self sustaining since I was 18. And for the past 8 years of my life, or maybe 10 years of my life with my business, pay for everything. Yeah. So that is, I know, like it's really crazy, but mhm. Yep, that is how I pay for my life, my house, my car, everything. I'm very self sufficient in finances, but also in life. So I can, if all the world shut down, I could probably still survive because I know how to grow food, collect water, very, very self sufficient person. I can't keep coaching my boyfriends. I know what you meant, but it was a good one too. Well, yeah, because I think naturally people that coach like we want to help people or whatever, but it's so unhealthy to do that with friendships or family or relationships. So I think that's like a natural part of the path for many people. Is they're like, I keep coaching my friends and this is not healthy and I want to do this. So like I've heard that in so many coaches' stories. Just trying to understand how what you teach is actually used in your life. Oh, I live by my own laws that I teach. Absolutely. Like I live and breathe the work that I do. But yeah, like I live in that state. I told you I lived in a state of bliss for 7 months and I'm still in it, but my body is just weak right now, so it's getting back that strength. But ask me more questions, royalty earnings. It's fun to answer these. People don't think that by being authentic and being in your integrity and going with the flow that you can sustain yourself. They think it's irresponsible, but I've definitely proven that point to be completely incorrect. Like there's never a reason to go against your integrity, to go against yourself, your truth. It's very, very scary for people to believe in. They're like, I need my corporate job. I need to, you know, prostitute myself out. I You can't keep doing that. I think we all fit into this world in our own unique way. Yeah. 1989. What's 1989? How did you build your success in your business? What do you think it was, or what do you give the credit to making it a success? Trusting myself, trusting in life, trusting in God, jumping off of the cliff without knowing if I was going to be having a parachute or wings or something to catch me underneath, and um following my heart, all the things I teach in coaching really. When I first started my business, every single person in my life that I loved, every single person told me that it was a stupid idea and I was gonna fail, and who did I think I was that I thought that I was gonna make money off of tarot and astrology because it had never been like, very few people did that at the time. They were like, "You're crazy." So I had nothing in my external reality to tell me that I was going to succeed. I had everything telling me I was gonna fail. And I also think, on a practical level, it was the collaborations that I was doing at the time too that really helped to build my business. But the psychological part was that complete trust and faith in myself, and and always sticking with my authenticity and my integrity. And I still do that, which is why my business has gone through so many transformations from cards to astrology and cards to coaching and now to, it's always changing the way I do things. Yeah, so, no, I don't think that that's what caused it. I think that at a certain point, you do move beyond your own astrology, right? Like, I don't think astrology is fake. I think astrology is real. I think it works. But the way that I look at it is a lot different now. And I do wanna make some videos about that, but I'm not ready to I'm still formulating my thoughts on it. Like, I still offer readings. You can still get a reading with me. I don't feel bad about doing a reading for you. It's just that, like, when people are at a certain point, it benefits them more to go into working on their spiritual transformation than it does to just keep getting readings. So, like, I want to keep doing readings. I want to keep reading cards and all of that, but, it needs to have its place, and a lot of the people that are watching my channel now, they're ready for deeper spiritual work, and it would just be like, you can go and get a reading or whatever, but, like, at a certain point, it's time to find that power within, you know? So I'm still trying to figure out how to still do readings, but kind of get people to self-identify with, like, what stage am I at, what would benefit me more, and be really honest with themselves. So, maybe I'll create a quiz for my, site so that people can kinda self-identify there. Any recommendations on how to get started on the deep spiritual work? You said it was a process. What advice would you have given yourself when you started this deeper dive? Well, I've been on this path since I was 12, so but today, the first step was see which category you reside in. Are you somebody that has experienced bliss and you just need to get to that deeper understanding that you can live in it always and find someone to help you do that? Or are you someone that's never experienced bliss and inner peace? Then you need to come, your first step then is to come to terms with the fact that it exists. So that is literally your first step is to have a reality check with yourself of which category you're in. And that's your first step. You don't need to go any deeper than that. And yes, working with somebody, so you could stay subscribed to my channel, keep watching my videos. You can go to at Nicole_Brenny. I share a lot of content there. At Eagle Ocean 222 is like an artistic representation of my work. And sign up for my newsletter. It's in the description box. That will give you access to any other offerings I create if I do a course or a webinar or something, or even a retreat. Who knows what I'll do. But working with me one on one, like that's what I can offer you. That's what I can offer you. And I don't know of many other individuals that do what I do. I have reference points and people that I love to watch. There's like two of them. I'm not going to share who they are at this point because I don't want to align my work with their work because I don't want to claim that I'm doing the same thing. Um, to maintain the integrity of what I do and to maintain the integrity of what they do. Like I'm very inspired by them and whatever, and I think they're awesome. But until I actually like have a conversation with them, meet them in real life, to really know if we're doing the same thing, I don't want to be like, check this person out or check that person out. Because I don't really know for a fact that we're really doing the same thing. And I can only speak from my experience and what I do. I know my students are doing the same thing. So if my students ever create a YouTube channel, I don't, or why am I saying the word students? My clients. Well, some of my clients are my previous students, so that's why I chose that word. But if they ever created content or created a YouTube channel, then I know for a fact that they're doing similar or basically the same thing, so I could recommend them. Okay, so ikorodia khutratiaf, mezonatiaf, ekoratia khatfura kata. E u atiar huret Dietro, giù, salsiccia. You can find reference points to like this natural yoga in ancient texts and the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is real yoga. Also, you'll find the description of real yoga hidden in Vedic sutras or sostras or whatever they're called. Um, we live in a corrupt world where the understanding of real yoga has been distorted. So have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Hold this information close to your heart, and I hope that everyone will continue on their journey to peace.